No
No,
objection.
yeah.
Ms. Kyler Green, would you please then begin the announcements?
Yes, good morning, Emily Kyler Green, attorney for the department.
Christy Cannot, Permanency Supervisor with Belong.
Mona Powell, Permanency Specialist with Belong.
Cecilia Howard on behalf of the mother. Ms. Consante, could you please unmute and announce? Could
You
you
need to
please
state your name, ma'am.
Bernadette Constante.
Thank you. I need you to leave your video on and keep your device still for me, okay?
Okay.
Alani Pearsall, attorney for Rodney Taylor. He is not present, therefore I'm not ready.
Marco Cabrera, attorney at Light and Ready.
Jill Roden, Tri-County CASA.
Kim Nunley, Tri-County CASA.
Ms. Pearsall has announced not ready. Get back to that screen. Sorry, Mr. Taylor, was he served? I don't have it in my system, so I'm not sure. Or did he appear last time?
I believe he signed a waiver of service, Your Honor. On the
He wasn't
6th of
served
March.
prior. He wasn't served prior to the last hearing, and he has not appeared in court, Your Honor. He did appear and participate in the family group conference.
We have a waiver of service, I believe, March 6th, 2024.
What's the date?
March 6th.
And then he was at the family group conference?
He was, Your Honor.
Okay. Well, if he signed a waiver of service and he was at the FGC and participated in that, then I'm going to overrule him not ready. He's been served. Ms. Powell, let's go over your status reports. I have 2 children in this suit. Kinsley is 11 and Journey is 4. As of the time of this report, they were both still in emergency shelter in Gonzales County. Is that the case still?
No, it is not. They've been placed in a kinship placement.
All right. What date were they placed at the kinship placement?
Oh, I believe it would have been, and I do apologize, it would have been at the end of February. It was after the status report was written.
And what county is that placement in?
Medina.
Is that placement safe and appropriate in meeting their needs?
Yes, it is.
You've been there?
Yes, I have.
Okay. Is it in their best interest to remain in that placement?
Yes, it is.
Did they already know the caregiver prior?
Yes, they did. The caregiver is their cousin's best friend. Yes.
Both of the children are up to date on their medical and their dental and their vision?
Yes.
And I don't see any concerns listed. So everything seems to be okay.
Yes.
Was Journey evaluated?
For cans?
Yes.
Yes.
And did you get that information back?
Yes, I did.
Okay. No concerns?
No concerns.
And you all were able to hold a family group conference?
Yes.
Have the family plans of service that were created been filed?
They will be shortly. I was holding on Mr. Taylor's because I haven't been able to contact him other than the family group conference.
Did Ms. Constante and Mr. Taylor both participate in the FGC?
Yes, they did.
And they participated in the creation of their plans?
Yes, they did. Mr. Taylor was virtual with us.
Okay. And are those plans narrowly tailored to address the concerns that brought Journey and Kinsley into the care of the department and Belong?
Yes, they are.
Do you believe that the plans are in the best interest of the children?
Yes, they are.
And do the parents have an opportunity to review those plans yet?
Mr. Taylor has not. He failed to send me his email address so that I could send the plan to him so that he could read over the plan and have that information to set up the services that I could not. But Ms. Constante has a copy and she has signed.
Are you asking for those family plans of service to be orders of the court?
Yes,
Did you all develop a permanency goal during your status or your family group conference?
yes.
What is that?
It is family reunification with a concurrent goal of relative or fictive kin adoption.
Have the parents been cooperating with you?
Ms. Constante has. Mr. Taylor has not responded to my emails or call. I'm sorry, my text or calls.
Is Ms. Constante visiting with the children?
Yes, she is.
Are those visits appropriate?
Yes, they are.
Are you asking for any changes to the visitation schedule at this time?
Not at this time.
Is Mr. Taylor visiting?
No, he is not.
Are you asking for any changes to his visitation schedule at this time?
No, not at this time.
As of today, is it safe to return the children to either parent?
Not at this time.
As of today, has either parent fully addressed the concerns that brought the children into care?
Not at this time.
Based on your discussions with Ms. Constante, do you believe that she understands what's expected of her at this time?
Yes, I do.
Based on your discussions with Mr. Taylor, do you believe that he understands what's expected of him at this time?
Yes.
Is there any Indian child heritage in this case?
No.
And is the placement of the children the least restrictive placement possible?
Yes, it is.
Ms. Kyler Green, do you have any questions for Ms. Powell?
Yes, Your Honor, thank you. Has Ms. Constante begun any of her services?
He has, I believe she submitted for her psychological, and Chandra is attempting to reach out to her to set up her individual counseling. Ms. Constante is having some phone issues right now. She has not drug tested. Her drug test has been set and she's missed the drug test.
How many drug tests has she missed?
Just the initial hair and urine tests.
And when were those scheduled?
Last Wednesday.
And have they been rescheduled?
It's still an open order. I'm holding the order open for her.
Have you communicated that with her, that she needs to go drug test?
Yes.
And has she communicated back any issues with transportation or any reason why she cannot make those drug tests?
She has. It's an issue with transportation. She attempted to go over the weekend, but I am not working over the weekend. So it was an issue with them getting the donor pass. So I've explained to her just to let me know when she goes down the test so that I can send out that donor pass to the testing facility. But the main issue is transportation.
Does she have an issue with transportation when it comes to visitation?
No, she does not.
Does she miss one visit because of an issue with transportation?
I'm sorry, she did. When visitation was in Seguin, she missed, it was that weekend of the 10th, I believe, of March. That was a missed visit due to transportation. Her ride backed out at the last minute.
Okay, but now that the children have been moved, we don't foresee any transportation issues being a hindrance to visits?
No, it shouldn't be a hindrance to visits.
Okay. Has she done her OSAR?
No.
Okay, is that scheduled as well, or have you done everything that you need to do in order to get those set up?
No, I was waiting for her to take her initial drug test, and then I will I will send in the referral for OSAR.
Okay.
But I can go ahead and get that done this week.
Okay. Have you asked Ms. Constante if she has a good email address for the alleged father?
She didn't have any contact information for Mr. Taylor.
Okay, do we have any contacts on the paternal side that might be able to help you get in contact with him?
Believe the FBSS worker reached out to family members, and I have a good telephone number for him. It is his phone number. It's his voicemail. So I leave messages for him.
Okay. Okay, nothing further. Thank you, Your Honor.
Ms. Halron?
Yes, Ms. Powell, since transportation to the drug test has been an issue, and apparently she showed up, but the donor pass was not completed. Is that correct?
The donor pass, we have to wait until they're there so that we can queue it to be sent. The issue was it was a Saturday and I was unaware if she was going. I didn't know that she was going on a Saturday.
Okay. Is it possible for you to get provide transportation this week to actually take her to go get the drug test?
I can transport her by Friday. I will be out of the state working, but if by Friday we can get her transportation to the drug testing facility in San Antonio.
Okay, so that would help to assist in making sure that she got there and the donor pass was completed, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Now she has been compliant with everything else that you have asked?
Yes, she did kind of reach out to Stonebridge, and I believe her evaluation was done with Stonebridge, and I've sent in other referrals. I think the issue now is her telephone is disconnected.
Okay.
So I need a concrete number for her for the service providers to reach out to her.
Okay, and she's explained to you that she had lost her phone and she's trying to obtain another one, correct?
I believe she said it was disconnected this time.
Okay. Now she is, or the children are with a kinship home, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Would you have any objection to her having 15-minute phone calls at night to say goodnight to the children?
No, I have no objection.
Okay. What is the number one service that she needs to complete?
The OSAR assessment, her drug testing OSAR assessment, and the main one would be dealing with her mental health with MHMR and following the recommendations from Stonebridge and her individual counseling.
Okay. Nothing further. Thank you, Your Honor.
Spearsall?
Are you asking that the father today be authorized to have twice a month visits with the children?
Yes.
And do you have any objection to the father having some phone calls supervised by the placement?
I have no objection.
Okay. So would the same rule of 15 minutes or less a day apply?
I'm sorry, could you repeat that?
So would it be the same daily phone call for about 15 minutes or less supervised by the placement?
Yes, I have no objection.
No other questions, Judge.
Mr. Cabrera?
Thank you, Judge. Kinsley's in school right now?
Yes, she is.
Okay. Now, the fictive kin placement, they do need childcare, correct?
Yes, for Journey.
Okay. And have they applied for the CCS childcare?
I did that for them and they weren't approved.
Okay. And that's because one parent is a full-time employee somewhere and the other one's a full-time student? Okay. That's all I have. Thank you.
Anything further, Ms. Carly Green?
No, Your Honor. Thank you.
Anybody else have any other witnesses or questions?
No, Your Honor, just a request.
What is your request, Ms. Harlan?
Your Honor, I would ask on behalf of my client that she be allowed to have a 15-minute phone call nightly with the girls to tuck them into bed.
All right. Mr. Cabrera, do you have anything to report?
Yes, Your Honor. With my report comes in a request as well. So before this, they were placed at Legacy Ranch in Gonzales. I met them there twice. Both times they requested placement at the place they are now with a fictive kin. So they're very familiar and we're hoping for this placement. They made this request themselves. I am asking the court today to order childcare. The placement was denied because one parent is a full-time or one fictive kin parent is a full-time student. My request is that the court order the department to pay for childcare. Them doing so would still be cheaper than having to find shelter placement where they were before, and it's also a much better placement than they would find elsewhere. So I'm asking the court to do that to maintain this placement. I also have no problem with parental phone calls. The kids, they're very bonded to their parents, to their mother in particular, and would enjoy those phone calls.
And Your Honor, I'm asking that you order visits for dad, standard twice a month visits, as well as the daily phone calls. His visitation wasn't addressed at the 262 because he wasn't served yet. I'm asking that you order that today.
Miss Nunley, anything else? I read the CASA report and looks like everything that was requested is that we've addressed today. Is there anything else you want to add?
Okay, sorry. Yes, sir. The only thing that wasn't addressed was Journey's rheumatology. That just needs to be continued. She sees a rheumatologist in San Antonio for psoriatic arthritis. And then we're in agreement with all the other talked about today for child care.
For the purpose of the status hearing, court finds there is no Indian child heritage in this suit. Court finds that the permanency goal of family reunification with a concurrent goal of adoption is appropriate and in the best interest of the children. Court finds or takes judicial notice that the father, Mr. Taylor, signed a waiver on March 6, 2024 and attended the family group conference. Court finds that the children are in a kinship placement in Medina County that is safe and appropriate, meeting their needs and in their best interest to continue in. Court finds that this is the least restrictive placement available for the children. Court finds that the children are up to date on their medical, dental, and vision, and they have no other concerns. And there's Journey had ECANs, and it revealed no other concerns. Court finds the parties held a family group conference, and Mr. Taylor and Ms. Constante were able to participate in the creation of their plans, and that the plans are narrowly tailored to address the concerns that brought Journey and Kinsley into the care of the department and belong. Court finds it's in the best interest of the children for those plans to be made orders of the court. Court finds that Ms. Constante signed her copy and has reviewed it and is cooperating with the department and belong. Court finds that Mr. Taylor is not, according to the testimony, responding to texts or calls and is not visiting at this time, and has not yet reviewed his plan or provided an email address. Court finds that as of today, it's not safe to return the children to either parent, and that neither parent has fully addressed the concerns. I will order that mom can have the 15-minute phone calls supervised by the placement. I will order Mr. Taylor to have visitation twice a month, supervised by the department or belong. I'm going to order that if Mr. Taylor engages and begins to address concerns, he can have the 15-minute phone call as well. But he's not here, and I have no information on what he's doing with his life, and I'm not going to allow him to talk to the kids at this point in time because I'm not concerned. I'm not sure that that's not a safety concern. I don't know what he's going to say to them. I don't know what he's going to do. They want to talk to him, so he needs to get engaged, and he needs to start addressing concerns. And then once you all are aware that he's engaged in addressing concerns, then he can start talking to the kids on the phone too. Otherwise, everything's going to be in-person supervised. I want somebody to have complete, total supervision over whatever's going on. So that's the deal with the dad's phone calls. I'm going to order Belong to provide childcare for the placement, and I'm going to order Belong to make sure to continue the rheumatology that Ms. Nunley was discussing. Our next hearing is going to be our initial permanency hearing, July 9th, 2024 at 2 p.m. July 9th, 2024 at 2 p.m. I have to admonish the parents that the state of Texas gives parents in CPS cases 12 months to demonstrate that you can provide a safe, stable, violence, and drug-free home for your child or your children. If you cannot do so, your rights to your children are subject to restriction as they are now, or termination. Ms. Kyler Green, is there anything I failed to address?
No, sir. Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome. Ms. Constante, just keep working on things, okay? Hopefully we'll come back in July. You've made a lot of progress and things look a lot different, okay? And hopefully Mr. Taylor gets on the ball too. Thank you all for your time and your service. If nothing further, all parties are excused.
Thank you, Judge.
Thank you, Your Honor.
With that, and
Thank you.
just to clarify for the record, that is from Kendall County. Ms. Kyler Green, would you please begin the announcements?
Good morning, Emily Kyler Green, attorney for the department.
Riley Sherrod Buckner, permanency specialist for the case.
Christy Knopf, permanency supervisor with Belong.
Cecilia Hung, on behalf of the mother, Shauna Thompson. Ms. Thompson, can you please unmute and announce?
I'm Shauna Thompson, and I'm the mother in this case.
Your Honor, Mr. Richard Dalzavar represents Mr. Carlos Senegal. He's in a trial. I'm here on his behalf. Mr. Senegal is here via Zoom. We're ready.
Mr. Senegal, can you unmute and announce, please?
Hi, good morning, Your Honor. I'm Tyler Senegal, and I'm here ready.
Irene Acosta for Princeton.
Raheem Brown, the foster care case manager for the CPA.
We're here for a permanency review before final order. And Ms. Sherrod Buckner, is there any Indian child heritage in this case at this time?
No, sir.
What's our permanency goal as of today?
Family reunification.
And where's the child placed at this time? Still with a relative in Harris County?
Yes, sir.
Is that placement safe and appropriate in meeting the child's needs?
Yes, sir.
Is it in Princeton's best interest to remain in that placement?
Yes, sir.
And is it the least restrictive placement available?
Yes, sir.
Is he up to date on all of his medical, dental, vision checkups?
Yes, sir.
Any concerns right now medically?
No, sir.
And any medications?
No, sir, not currently.
Are the parents in compliance? Let's start with the mother's, Ms. Thompson, in compliance.
At this current time, she is considered in partial compliance.
What about Mr. Senegal?
No, Your Honor, he is not in compliance.
Are they having visitation with the child?
Yes, sir.
Is the visitation appropriate?
Currently, at this moment, the caregiver is currently supervising those visits. So when she report back to me, they're safe and appropriate at this current time.
Are you asking for any changes to the visitation schedule?
No, sir.
Why is mom only in partial compliance?
At this current time, Ms. Shauna Thompson has not been consistent with her visits. And so I did explain to her that over time, we want to continue to see her be a little bit more engaging in her parent-child visits and also trying to attend those visits as scheduled.
All right, so let me make sure I understood this right. She's only in partial compliance because of her lack of engagement in those visits?
Yes, sir, when they are scheduled, because they have not been consistent since the last court hearing. So I kind of explained to her, we just need a little bit more time to kind of continue to observe those visits and, making sure she's providing anything that's necessary deemed by placement, such as clothing, things like that.
Okay, and what about her other services? Is she in compliance with the other services?
Yes, sir. At this current time, I know that she is engaging in her therapy with her counselor. She also is engaging in MHDD services. I just have not received those results as far as her attending dates and things like that. So I have reached out to them to get those records.
What is it about her behavior during the visits that you're classifying as failure to fully engage? What is she doing or not doing?
I know that when they're there, I know she kind of tells me that they're kind of going bicycle rides, things like that, and kind of play. I know with speaking with the caregiver kind of explained to me there's no parenting, because I know with Princeton, he can kind of be defiant. So I spoke to Ms. Shauna and I explained to her that some of those visits just not need to consist of her just playing with him and just kind of being more stern with him when he's kind of giving her a little bit, pushback and not having the grandmother to engage, allowing her to kind of build that confidence so she could start doing it herself.
Okay. Are there any safety issues or any concerns like that during the visits?
None that has not been reported to me, no, sir.
Then is Mr. Senegal visiting?
Yes, sir.
And what about his visits are appropriate or inappropriate, or what does he need to do differently?
So it will technically be the same thing, making sure he's showing up to those visits, and then also providing clothing, if he's able to bring food, snacks to those visits and things like that. And he, according to the grandmother, I know she kind of did say he does take a little bit more charge. When Princeton does give a little bit pushback, he's a little bit more stern with him. So just continue for him to show up and be in a place of parent capacity at those visits.
Okay. Do both parents have a copy of their family plan of service?
Yes, sir.
As of today, would it be safe to return the child to either parent?
No, sir.
As of today, has either parent fully addressed the concerns that brought Princeton into care?
No, sir.
You asking for the court to maintain Princeton in the temporary management conservatorship of the department / belong?
Yes, sir.
You feel that's in his best interest?
Yes, sir.
Ms. Kyler Green, questions for Mr. Rod Buckner?
I do, Your Honor. I'd like to wait until Ms. Thompson is in one place though, because I want her to hear this.
Okay, Ms. Thompson, I'm gonna need you to have a seat and keep your device still while we're in court, okay?
Thank you. Mr. Rod Buckner, have you received notes from Ms. Thompson's therapy sessions?
Yes, ma'am.
Or have you been in contact with her therapist?
Yes.
Okay. What are the concerns right now in those individual counseling sessions?
She continues to see her therapist on Wednesdays. Right now they're continuing to kind of discuss her coping skills, continue to relieve any stressors. I know when I did read the notes and also spoke to her therapist, her concern is her ability to continue to be in a relationship with her spouse, Mr. Senegal.
So is it fair to say codependency with Mr. Senegal?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and why is that a problem at this juncture in the case? Any potential codependency between Ms. Thompson and Mr. Senegal?
I do believe that the fact that it does not give Ms. Thompson the ability to show us that she can do this on her own without Mr. Senegal's help.
And is the reason why that's important is because at this point in the case, Ms. Thompson is in partial compliance and Mr. Senegal is not in compliance.
Correct.
Okay. Are they living together to your knowledge?
At this current time, no, ma'am.
Where is Ms. Thompson living?
In Devine, Texas.
And does she have her own place?
Yes, ma'am.
Is it an apartment or home?
It's a home that she owns.
Okay. And have you been able to visit that home?
Yes.
Does it have a room for for Princeton?
Yes, ma'am.
Is Ms. Thompson also currently pregnant?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Is that a concern? Not that she's pregnant, but is that a concern over her ability to care for both Princeton and this new baby when the new baby arrives?
Correct.
Why?
I know when I did speak to Ms. Thompson, she did say she does have a lot of support, within her community. I did kind of speak with Ms. Shauna regarding, she is employed, but I know currently right now, she is only, I do believe, making maybe $9.27. And then, so I know I have spoken to her regarding, moving forward, how would you sustain as far as food and clothing, things of those nature in order to ensure that, both children, especially Princeton, have all of the needs that he need. She did say that she has a lot of support, but my concern is her being able to sustain that and when, Princeton is returned home.
Okay. Does she have daycare set up for both children?
Not since my last, not that I know of, no, ma'am. I know that she has individuals in the community that will be helping her.
Okay, and have you had an opportunity to discuss whether or not it's appropriate for the individuals who she named to care for the children?
Yes.
If they were to be returned? or if he was to be returned, excuse me.
Yes, ma'am. Because I did explain to her, I know, she's been knowing them, she's been living in her community, but I know that we don't know them, which I understand, but it's just a matter of the safety, due to her having an open CPS case.
Okay. Does Ms. Thompson work part-time or full-time?
It's full-time.
Okay, and has she gone through the process of ensuring that she would have a schedule that would be able to allow her to care for Princeton and a new baby?
As of right now, she does, as looking at her paycheck stuff, she does work 40 hours, sometimes a little bit over that, but I have not spoken to her regarding how would that schedule shift once, Princeton is acclimated in the home and, when the new baby is born. I have not spoken to her about that just yet.
So is that still something that she needs to have thought of or needs to have prepared for if Princeton were to ever be returned?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Are the parents still engaging in couples counseling?
At this current time, no, ma'am.
And is that because they are, according to your best knowledge at this time, they're no longer a couple?
Yes, ma'am. I know when I spoke to Ms. Thompson and Mr. Senegal, what was stated to me that she will focus on herself and then he will focus on himself.
Where's the father living?
He's in Katy, Texas.
And do you know where specifically what sort of a house he's living in or home he's living in?
Yes, he currently in like a home where he has 2 other roommates that he's currently living in right now. I do believe his mom helped him get it.
Do you know, have you been able to visit the home?
Not just yet. I do believe he just moved there maybe yesterday or Friday, I do believe.
And that was post rehab?
Yes.
Did he successfully complete rehab?
I did receive the certification. I do believe March 22nd. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and mom picked him up from rehab?
Yes.
With the help of a friend?
Yes, ma'am. So
Okay.
her friends kind of helped her with the Uber and everything like that. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, historically, has Ms. Thompson ever had difficulty with transportation in regards to her visits with Princeton?
Yes, ma'am. Because I do believe prior to they did have a vehicle. But after that vehicle, I do believe it was something wrong with the engine, so they had to take it to the mechanic shop. So since then, yes, they have not. Well, she has not had transportation.
Okay. Was it concerning to you that she was able to obtain transportation to get Mr. Senegal out of rehab or pick him up from rehab, but sometimes has difficulty in obtaining transportation to go see Princeton?
Objection leading.
Rephrase, system.
Are there any concerns? Do you have any concerns in regards to Ms. Thompson's ability to get transportation in regards to Mr. Senegal versus Princeton?
Correct.
What are those concerns?
So I know, since I know Mr. Senegal has not been living in the home, I did express to her that she has to get to these visits and or making attempts to get to these visits. So I was a little taken back when I knew she was able to get to Tyler once he had got released. But I know when I did ask her in the beginning, if she had transportation for her visit, anything like that, she was like, no, I'm trying. I can't find transportation. Or a friend would say, hey, I can take you. And then that ride would not fall through.
Okay. You discussed when the court was asking you questions about concerns you had with their parenting skills when they exercise their visitation. Do you recall that?
Yes.
Okay. Who does Princeton look to as the parent?
Objection as to basis of knowledge if she hasn't observed any of these visits.
Well, Your Honor, it's based on her status as a caseworker in this case and her.
Objection hearsay. If she has not observed those visits, that observation was done by the grandmother.
Are you offering Ms. Kyler Green, Ms. Sherrod Buckner's testimony for knowledge of the case?
Yes, through her overall knowledge of the case. And Your Honor, what I'm getting here is not actually contrary to either of the parents. It's an attempt to have the parties understand through Ms. Sherrod Buckner the relationship between all three parties is it's difficult because there is a paternal grandmother in this case who has had Princeton, and so for the parents to move forward in their parenting, we've got to address that situation, that we have a grandmother here who's been the parent for this child. That's all I'm getting at, Your Honor. I don't even need to ask any more questions about it.
Well,
Okay.
okay.
I mean, and I would object because obviously it's the paternal grandmother that is observing the visits. So unless Ms. Sherrod Buckner is supervising the visits, and that would lead into my request.
I'll withdraw the question. It's fine. Nothing further.
Well, I mean, I understand you're withdrawing the question and I understand your objection, but if Ms. Sherrod Buckner is the caseworker and she's making all of her notes and her recommendations based off the information she's getting from the Senegal, and she's doing that in the ordinary course of business, I think it's a hearsay exception. But if you're,
I do too, but I think that the juice is getting lost in the
squeeze.
objections here.
Okay, well then let's just move on then.
Nothing further.
Okay, then Ms. Sullivan.
Yes. How many visits, if any, Ms. Sherrod Buckner, have you actually observed personally?
I do maybe 4 since Miss Angela Senegal have taken over. This one, it was being supervised through Children Matter in Houston.
Okay, my question is, how many have you observed? You've observed 4?
Yes.
And when was the last visit you observed?
Give me 1 minute, I apologize. I do believe June.
Of 2023.
Yes.
So it's been 10 months.
Yes.
Correct? And you're relying solely on what's being reported by the paternal grandmother, correct?
No, also Miss Thompson also kind of give me her feedback on how those visits, and Mr. Senegal.
Okay. Now, are some of the concerns that she can be uncomfortable around the paternal grandmother?
According to Miss Thompson, she did say yes.
Okay. And it's your testimony that Ms. Senegal, Mr. Senegal's mother is the one that helped him get housing in Katy. Is that correct?
Correct.
Now, Ms. Thompson has to get to the visit to Katy, so it's approximately 3 hours, correct?
From Divine, I do believe, yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Before.
Now, you stated that her visits have been inconsistent due to transportation, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. So when was her last visit?
I do believe March 24th.
Okay. Was that before or after the family group conference?
I do believe after, I do believe.
Okay. Did she make that visit?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Did she stay the entire 6 hours?
No, I think she only did 2 hours that day.
So that would have been before the family group conference then?
I don't have the paperwork in front of me, so I wouldn't be able to give an accurate date.
Did we have a conference call between your supervisor and you and Ms. Thompson to explain to her your concerns regarding the visits?
Yes, I apologize. I thought you were meaning like the family group conference with everybody, not just a conference with you, Ms. Thompson and my supervisor. I apologize.
Okay, so that was clearly before that, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Does she understand that she needs to attend all the visits and stay the full 6 hours?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Since you have not observed any of the visits in over 10 months, do you think it would be important for you to pop in and at least observe these visits for yourself?
Yes, ma'am. I have already scheduled to attend one. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Now, the concern that you have with mom and Mr. Senegal's relationship is that it appears to be codependent, correct?
Correct, according to also the therapist as well. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Are they taking steps to address that?
As far as the code,
correct. Is she addressing that in therapy right now?
Yes, ma'am, with her therapist.
Okay. Now, you were asked on direct whether or not Ms. Thompson has set up daycare, correct?
Correct.
Have you had a conversation letting her know that because she's pregnant, she needs to set up daycare?
Yes, ma'am. I did have that discussion with her, which she understood. I know she did say, you know, she has her community and also her neighbors that was willing to help. And then I explained, you know, that is not a guarantee, you know, that they will be available. And then she proceeded to say, well, we can give her daycare.
Okay, so if there were a monitor return, the department could provide at least initially daycare to set things up, correct?
For Princeton, because I do believe her child that she's currently pregnant now with is not a party of the case.
Understood. How far along is she?
If I'm not believing, I do believe maybe it's 7 months. I think she said she goes have her C-section in now 7 weeks from today, I do believe.
Okay.
I don't know if that changes
So-
now, but
Okay, so you are expecting her to set up and show that she can provide daycare for the new baby so that you show that if Princeton were returned, that she would be able to also provide daycare for him. Is that correct?
yes.
Okay.
We're getting low on time, so pick your
Okay.
questions carefully, please.
I will. Just a moment. What is the plan at this time between now and the trial date?
So I did explain to Ms. Thompson that, you know, we want to see her again, show up to those visits, you know, being prompt to those visits, staying the whole visit, you know, providing clothing, food. Like I explained to her, you know, even if you have to go to Goodwill, things like that. And I've explained to her, we just need a little bit more time to show, well, to observe, sorry, which I did explain to my supervisor about going to those visits so we can report to the court how that parent-child relationship is going.
Okay. All right. I have nothing further, Your Honor. Thank you.
Well, I guess it would be Mr. Cabrera. Do you have any questions?
Briefly, Your Honor, thank you. So in the interest of time, I was going to ask about all the specific services that Mr. Senegal is doing, but can I just ask, is his behavior at the visits the only reason you're naming him non-compliant?
Whose behavior?
Mr. Senegal.
No, his non-compliance comes with his services as well.
Okay, what services is he not doing?
So right now, I know that he needs to get engaged in IOP services since now being released from inpatient treatment. He also needs to get engaged in individual counseling, which that have also been set up. He does need to find employment. I have not spoken to him today to see if he actually found employment. And then once he does, provide me with his paycheck stub and the name of the employee that he's working with, and then also again showing up to his visit, staying the whole 6 hours, and providing clothing, anything that is deemed necessary by placement.
Okay, and so you mentioned that he was just released from is it outpatient?
Yes, sir. Yes.
When was he released from that?
March 22nd of this year.
Okay, so roughly maybe a little over 2 weeks ago. Does that sound about right?
Yes, sir.
And so now that he's done with that, some of the services that he was receiving there needs to be set up for him on the outside. Is that a fair assessment?
Those services have been set up for him.
Okay, and so he needs to engage. You said counseling was already set up?
Yes. So I have not received like any of the information while he was inpatient, but yes, we have already set up the counseling for him.
Okay, and you've confirmed that he has not reached out to the counselor yet, or you haven't heard back?
I have not heard back, but he is aware that I did text him. All his services has been set up for him.
When did you send him that information?
Maybe Thursday of last week. Yes, sir.
Okay, and so today is Tuesday. So based on you sending him being released in March, you sending him Thursday, and then today's Tuesday.
Mm-hmm.
That's the basis for the non-compliance?
Yes, sir. I've also tried to get him engaged with the previous counselor that he was already engaged with, just to kind of bridge the gaps in between the services, but I couldn't find anybody that would take him as a client.
Okay, okay. So there was a little bit of time also taken figuring out who was going to provide the services.
Yes.
Okay, and you have some issue with his behavior at the visits.
No.
You said his engagement with his child at the visit. You'd like him to be more engaged, maybe a little bit more stern.
No, he's more stern than Miss Thompson is. So Princeton is a little bit more adhere with him. Like he does follow what he has to say because of him being a little bit more stern.
What are the things that you'd like him to improve on at the visit?
No, he's doing what he needs to do. I think our biggest thing is just continue to show up to those visits, stay in the whole 6 hours, and then providing food, clothing, whatever that might be. But
Okay,
when he's at his visit,
so the visits are fine.
Yes.
Okay. Okay, that's all I have.
Okay, Ms. Acosta?
Thank you. When Mr. Senegal relapsed, where was he living?
With Miss Thompson in Devon.
Okay, and did you speak with Miss Thompson about the relapse?
Yes, ma'am.
And was she aware that he'd been using?
According to her, she didn't know until I do believe the day that it actually happened.
Until the day that what actually happened?
The relapse.
Okay. They were in a relationship at the time, correct?
That is correct.
Okay. Is there any concern for Ms. Thompson's protective capacity given Mr. Senegal was living with her while when he relapsed, and she says that she didn't know about it until that day?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And just to be clear, Ms. Thompson has a drug past, correct? She's undergone treatment for substance abuse. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. How many visits have the parents missed?
So the way that the visits, according to my knowledge, not any, because the way that those visits are scheduled, they'll get with the grandmother and they will come up with those dates. And then those are the dates that they have for the visit. So it's not like it's already preset.
Okay. So how often have they been visiting?
So they try to do in early of the month and then at the end of the month. I do know recently within the last, I do believe, maybe 3 or 4 weeks, Ms. Shauna and Tyler has been consistent with those visits. So I do believe they've had 4.
Okay. And how long have those visits been?
It can vary because they do get 6 hours. So for one of the visits, I do believe for Tyler, I think he had got 3 hours. And then I do believe the next following visit, I do believe he got 7. And then it was the same thing for Miss Thompson, where she ended up getting 8 hours because that was the only day she was able to do for her visit. And then she had a visit on the 24th, but I do believe it was like 2 hours.
Okay. And so the time and duration of their visits vary based on their schedule, correct?
Yes, ma'am. And Miss Senegal's schedule, yes, ma'am.
Okay. Are the parents paying child support?
To my knowledge, no, ma'am, not at this current time.
Okay. But at the last hearing, it was requested that that be discussed, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And is Mr. Senegal still paying child support that goes to Ms. Thompson?
I'm not aware. I know the last time I did ask about it, they was garnishing his paycheck, so that's how she was receiving the child support on the card. But I have not spoken to her about getting any recent child support within the last 30 days, which I don't think so because he hasn't been working.
Okay, but at this point in time, neither parent is paying child support. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay. You testified earlier that the parents stated that they're no longer in a relationship and they're just working on themselves. What is their plan after they're done working on themselves?
When I spoke to Miss Thompson at that particular time, I don't know if that has changed. Her plan was to do what she needed to do as far as her services, showing up to her visit, getting Princeton back into the home, acclimated back into the home, and then Tyler would then come being integrated into the home.
Okay.
That's what
So
she told me.
is it your sense that they're trying to get through this case and then they'll reunify?
Correct.
Okay. So they are actually still planning to be in a relationship. They just don't want to be in a relationship while this case is ongoing. Is that correct?
I'm not for sure, far as the magnitude, if they're planned to be in a relationship. She just explained to me that right now they're only going to focus on themselves.
Okay. So with regard to a question that you were asked earlier, Princeton has been with his paternal grandmother this entire case, correct?
Yes, ma'am, since March, I do believe.
And he's bonded with them, correct?
Yes.
And they are the ones who day in, day out have been providing everything for him, correct? Without child support, mind you.
Yes.
Okay, and he's currently he's still going to play therapy. Is that correct?
Yes, I do believe 2 times a week.
Okay. Have you received any notes indicating any concerns with his play therapy?
There are concerns regarding within the notes, just his ability to kind of sit still, his impulsivity, following directions, things of that nature that they're working on right now in therapy.
Okay. And so do you think that it's important for him to have consistency?
Yes, and him continue to have therapy, yes.
Okay. I'll pass the witness. Judge, I would just like to address the court.
Well, we're about out of time. This case probably should have been a special setting. Sounds like y'all have a lot y'all want to explore, so we just don't have the room for it in a 30-minute block. What thoughts do you have, Ms. Acosta?
Your Honor, I'm concerned that the parents are saying that they're not together, they're not in a relationship. Ms. Thompson's pregnant with, I'm assuming, Mr. Senegal's child. And they're saying, well, we're just going to focus on ourselves for right now until Ms. Thompson gets Princeton back, and then they're going to address their issues together after the department and everyone else is out. I don't think that that's appropriate. I think that if they're working through issues, they should be doing couples counseling. It sounds to me like they're just trying to skirt services so that they can just deal with it later, which this isn't the first time that Ms. Thompson has had CPS involvement with children. That's concerning. It's concerning that Mr. Senegal was living with her using drugs, and she says, well, I just didn't know about it. So it makes me think that there's questions with regard to her protective capacity and the issues that the therapist is concerned about there's the fact that she was able to find transportation to go get him from rehab. There's just a lot of concerning things, even though on the surface it seems, well, yes, she's working her services. There's just a lot of layers beneath that don't seem to sit quite right. Princeton is safe with his grandmother right now. He's doing well. He's stable. And I don't want to disrupt that when, like, both parents have said, we're going to deal with ourselves right now. But as soon as he's reunified with mom, if he's reunified with mom, then we'll get Mr. Senegal back in the home. And I just don't think that, I think that that's setting Princeton up for failure.
Thank you. Okay. We're over, so I'm going to go ahead and make a ruling now. I've heard everything I need to hear to this point. For the purposes of the permanency review before final order, court finds there's no Indian child heritage. Permanency goal, family reunification. I guess you're on track for that right now. It seems to be in the best interest of the child. However, it does seem like there's concerns on the other side of the aisle. So y'all need to address those. I'm going to order the parties to mediation prior to the trial setting, which I'll talk about in a minute. I want to find that the placement is safe and appropriate, meeting Princeton's needs and in his best interest to remain. So least restrictive placement available. We'll find that he's up to date on all of his checkups, are no concerns. I'm going to find that both parents are in partial compliance. Obviously, there's some work that's being done. Mr. Senegal completed rehab. Good job. I'm proud of you for doing that. The parents are doing things, but there's still some concerns that exist. There's still some issues with the visitation. But I do believe they're in compliance at this time. So these issues with the visits, they need to be addressed at the visits. So if grandma is supervising and she's not giving them the direction that Belong wants to see, then Belong needs to get to the visits and supervise. If you don't like the redirection that's being given, then it needs to be from Belong. Otherwise, it's secondhand information and it's not by somebody who's been trained in this. Court will find that both parents have a copy of their family plan of service. As of today, it's not safe to return the child to either parent. As of today, neither parent has fully addressed the concerns that brought the child into care. It's best interest of the child for Princeton to remain in the temporary managing conservatorship of the department / belong. I'm going to order again the parties to mediate before the trial setting. Your next trial setting is July 9th, 2024 at 11 a.m., but there's a jury demand. So you need to get a setting from the district judge for your jury trial. Obviously, you need to go to mediation prior to a bench trial or a jury trial. So you need to be mediating. Based on what I'm hearing, this case needs for some more water to go under the bridge before you mediate, but you don't want to wait until you're right up against the jury trial deadline, because your dismissal date is, well, it's September, so you've got time. We've already extended this case. I told Ms. Greenlee that for our next setting, if we don't have an hour, we need to move it, because this case has got a lot going on. 30 minutes is not long enough. You need to be requesting special settings for cases like this where you have a lot of questions and a lot of concerns. 30 minutes just isn't enough time. We're almost 15 over. So get with the district judge and figure out a jury trial date in the event you don't settle at mediation, please. And Ms. Thompson's got a question. I'm going to let her talk to you, Ms. Hellrung, because I've already made my order and I'm already running over time.
I've already texted her. She'll
Okay,
call
good.
after.
Good. I'm glad to hear it. All right. Thank you all for your time and your service. If nothing further, all parties are excused.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you.
Ms. Kylie Green, would you please begin the announcements?
Emily Kylie Green, attorney for the department.
Amber Wagner, adoption specialist for Morgan.
Laura Martinez, adoption supervisor.
Deborah Fuller, attorney and guardian ad litem for Morgan.
Jill Roden, Tri-County CASA.
Ms. Wagner, regarding Morgan at this time, what's the permanency goal?
Unrelated adoption.
Where is she placed at this time?
Ayante and Sugarland.
Same placement as last time, correct?
I believe she was at one discovery at her at the last hearing.
Okay. When did she move?
She was moved on 2/9/24. On February 29th, she was moved to Ayante.
February 29th or February 9th?
February 9th, I'm sorry.
And is that in Harris County as well?
Yes, sir. Harris or Fort Bend, I don't remember.
Is that placement safe and appropriate, meeting her needs?
Yes.
Is it in her best interest to remain there?
Yes, sir.
Is she up to date on all of her checkups?
Yes.
Any concerns that you're aware of?
She is having some issues with like recurrent strep, and so they have referred her to an ENT for that, but otherwise she's doing well.
Okay. Are her educational needs being met?
Yes, sir.
How's she doing in school?
She was just enrolled at the beginning of March, so I haven't received any report cards, but they say that she's doing well and she's not, and she does have assistance with a 504.
How are her behaviors?
She does have some behaviors, especially if she feels like she's not being heard. She gets frustrated easily. There was an incident last week where she was very upset because things weren't going the way she thought they should. And they actually did put in a placement notice because of her behaviors, a discharge notice, I'm sorry.
So she's already got another discharge notice from my auntie?
Correct, but they did rescind it last week after we had a mitigation staffing and everything. They did speak with her and everything came around and she was doing better.
All right. What is Belong doing specifically to address that, to try and continue to mitigate whether or not there's going to be another notice?
We've been working with her. There is we're just trying to make sure that she's safe and she's happy. And there's an individual that she does have contact with there that is helping with her behaviors as long as she is allowed to have contact with her.
Is she taking any psychotropics at this time?
She does. She takes buspirone, hydroxyzine as needed, and guanfacine for ADHD.
Are those reviews up to date?
Correct. It was just reviewed on March 20th.
Okay. Is this placement that she's in the least restricted placement available?
Yes, sir.
Since we had our last hearing, have any other family members come forward?
No, sir.
Has Morgan been able to express her wants and desires to you?
Yes.
What does she want?
She would like to visit with her grandfather more often, down in Sabinal. She's also requested to have more contact with, somebody that she knew from One Discovery. We allow her some supervised phone contacts, but she's asking for more contact for that right now.
You believe that's appropriate?
Not currently. No, I do not believe that any more than supervised phone contacts would be appropriate at this time.
Any other specific reasonable efforts that Belong has made to help achieve a permanency goal of unrelated adoption?
I'm getting ready to go visit with her in person so I can work on her TARE profile, so that we can get that information. And I want her to be a big part of it because she is such an advocate for herself. I don't want to sit around and try to make things up for her. I want her to be able to do it. And so that's my next step when I do go see her in person, is to get that done and get her profile so that we can get that set up.
Okay. Anything else?
Nothing other than I did speak with her grandfather, but unfortunately her grandfather at this time doesn't have the space in his home to provide care for her long term.
Riley Green, any questions?
No questions. Thank you.
Fuller.
So Ms. Wagner, it was your testimony that she moved to this placement on February 9th, correct?
Correct.
And that was not because she was discharged from One Discovery. It was because there was an investigation, correct? And what was that investigation about?
The investigation for that was, I believe there was some inappropriate contact between the girls and an employee at One Discovery.
But the investigation in regards to Morgan was ruled out, correct?
Correct.
And it was Belong's decision that she could not be returned there, even though her investigation was ruled out, correct?
Correct.
And why is that?
I was told through our licensing, through our placement and licensing people, that it was something to do with contracting. I don't have specifics.
Okay, but that's if Morgan had her way, she would want to go back to One Discovery, correct?
Correct.
And she didn't have she did pretty well there, didn't she?
Yes.
She didn't have any runaway behavior. She was involved in their program.
Correct.
And isn't it true that Belong, the department, has refused to provide any specifics of this investigation to the ad litem and to CASA, so we can determine how we can better assist Morgan with this transition?
Based on the new law that prohibits us from re-releasing information, I cannot release that information because we're not the custodian of it.
Well, licensing is the custodian of records for any investigations, correct?
I believe so. I believe HHSC is the one that is the custodian of record for those.
And under the family code, the ad litem, attorney and guardian ad litem, as well as CASA, is entitled to documentation that will assist them in advocating for their client, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
But at this time, it's still been refused, that we are not able to have those records according to Belong.
Correct. I've been told that I can't release the information that I did find.
Okay. In regards to, so there's been no efforts to get Morgan back to where she wants to be, correct?
Correct. Based on our licensing and contracting people.
Okay. In regards to the school, you said she moved February 9th. Isn't it true that it took more than 30 days, probably closer to 40 days, before Morgan was able to be enrolled in school because Belong did not provide the documentation to Ayante?
She was enrolled in school on 3/6/24.
Are you sure about that?
That's the information that I have documented, that it was 3/6/24. I checked it just before we got in here.
Okay. So it was only 30 days, not 40 days. So
Correct.
isn't it required by your policy that a child be enrolled in school within 2 days after she is placed in a placement?
Correct, but I was not the one that did the placement when she was put there, so
I'm asking about
I'm
your
unable to
policy.
do that.
One at a
That's why-
time.
I'm asking about your policy, whether you did the placement or not. The policy is to have this child enrolled in school
Yes, ma'am.
within 2 days.
Yes, ma'am.
And you're saying March 6th, but I think paperwork will say otherwise. So anyway, at a minimum, it was probably close to 30 days that she was not enrolled in school. And she's behind in school, isn't she?
Correct. She does have some struggles.
And now, what school is she enrolled in?
She is enrolled in it's a Texas Virtual Academy.
And you said she gets 504 assistance. How does she get 504 assistance with this virtual school?
I believe her services include like extra time to complete her assignments. I honestly do not know how they handle the 504 services in an online setting.
Wouldn't it be important for the department or belong to confirm how she's getting her services? She misses a month of school, you get her in an online school, and you don't even know how she's getting her services. Wouldn't that be important?
Yes, ma'am, it would be.
So would you be able to please confirm whether she's getting 504 services and what she's getting and provide that to myself and CASA?
Yes, ma'am, I can do that. Okay.
You said that she had a med review. So she's on 3 psychotropic meds. Do you feel that these are appropriate, or is she being over medicated?
Yeah, I believe that I do know that one of her medications is an as needed medication for the anxiety. So I know that's probably not a daily medication. As for the other 2, one's an ADHD medication, which I believe if she does struggle with that she does need that medication. And the other is also an antidepressant and anxiety. So if that is something that she needs on a daily basis, I don't think that the 2 meds with an optional 3rd one would be over medicating her.
And Morgan has hearing aids, correct? And she
Correct.
needs those hearing aids. And she has glasses, correct?
Correct.
And how long did it take for her to actually get her hearing aids and her glasses from the time she was placed on February 9th? How long did it take?
As I do not know, I believe that she was taken there with her hearing aids.
But without the charger, so she couldn't charge them.
I did not know that. I do know she had them and she's been followed up with multiple times in the last couple of weeks for her hearing.
Okay. So a month or so later, she's getting some follow-up for her hearing aids. And what about the glasses?
Her glasses, I believe, are current and up to date. She doesn't need a new vision exam.
And your statement to the court was she's having some contact with this individual she met at her placement, correct? That's Miss Sims.
Correct.
Okay. And Miss Sims has indicated to us that she would like to adopt Morgan, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
What is the barrier to her adopting Morgan?
Miss Sims, I've asked multiple times to obtain information so that I can run a background check so that we can have a conversation about how this is going to work, what she needs to do. And she is ignoring phone calls, texts, and all of that. I've tried probably 10 times over the past 2 to 3 weeks, phone calls and text messages to get in contact with her.
But there's also information that Belong has in regards to Miss Sims that, according to the email, was it's a permanent bar that she can't even be looked at, correct?
Correct.
But that's not allowed to be shared with us either, correct?
Correct.
And so it doesn't matter how many times we ask for this information so we can advocate for Morgan, we're told we're not able to get it.
Objection asked and answered.
I'll go on. I'll skip that, yeah. So Miss Sims has been allowed telephone contact with my client and it's supervised, correct?
Correct.
So even though you had some information that it was a permanent bar for her to be a placement, everyone agreed she could have contact. So how detrimental do you think that's going to be when you tell her, you go to do the tear and you tell her, we're putting you on tear for adoption when she wants to be adopted by this individual?
I do believe that she will be very upset when I tell her that, but I also told Morgan at the beginning of this that it all depended on what Miss Sims did and if she is a possibility. I also said, if there's not a possibility, we would look into other options. And she said, well, I want Miss Sims first, but she told me that she did understand that if it was not a possibility, that it would be somebody else.
But some either CPS history, criminal history, whatever, you can do a risk evaluation, correct? In some
believe so.
cases.
Correct.
But because we're not being shared the information, we don't even know if that's a possibility, correct?
Well, why is that? Well, it's an elephant in the room. What's the legal reason that the belong can't give the other parties an explanation as to why there's a bar?
This is what I've been told, which doesn't really make sense.
Your Honor, I object to Ms. Fuller answering this question. I think it's more appropriate for perhaps Ms. Martinez to answer this question.
All right, let me hear it from belong, and then I can hear your concerns as well, Ms. Fuller.
So we were, Judge, we were informed that because the information that we came across was digging around trying to find more information on Ms. Sims, we came across the information. Ms. Sims has not been able to provide information to give us permission to run her background. I've also tried to contact her and ask this, and she is refusing to call me back. She said she would. We haven't. If Ms. Sims would like to be placement, we would love for that to happen, but we can't go forward without her giving us the information we need to run her background to actually look into.
Okay, that's what I needed to know. I understand. So what I'm hearing is that she's not cooperating with you to allow you to move forward legally.
Correct.
And Ms. Fuller, you have a different.
Little bit of a different take. Yes, Your Honor. Initially, we were told that she wouldn't share her information, which I understand that. I talked to Ms. Sims myself and told her if you don't provide your information, they can't look at you. Then we were told that they came across something that made it a permanent bar so she can be studied. Now, Ms. Martinez just said, oh, we'd love to study her place. Well, what is it? Is there a permanent bar, or can she be studied at all? Or are we just waiting for information? This is another case of we're being like shut out and not given an opportunity to advocate for our client, for my client, what she wants, because I don't know what's going on. I know Ms. Sims hasn't provided her information, but I've been told that they found something, some kind of FBI thing.
Right, but my understanding of it is they found something, but in order to corroborate it, they have to get permission from her because they didn't find it through normal course of business. Correct, Ms. Martinez?
It was
correct.
It was unofficially found, Your Honor.
Okay. So you can't move forward unless she gives you permission, correct, Ms. Kyler Green?
Yes.
Okay, so that's the problem, Ms. Fuller. That's what I'm hearing right now, is that they want to work with her, but she doesn't give them the green light.
Well, we were told that the information, even though they found it through whatever means, it was an FBI check, and we're not entitled to that anymore. Anyway, according to the new law, we're not entitled to an FBI check. That's what Ms. Lucinda Valdez told us in a meeting, that we weren't entitled to that, which that is fine. But I need to know, is it a permanent bar or not a permanent bar?
Well, this is what I'm going to say. I'm making this order. Unless what's her name?
Crystal Sims.
Unless she comes forward and gives her information to all of you, I'm barring any further study. Because I don't want to waste time, Morgan's time, studying somebody when we could be studying somebody else when this is not going to go anywhere. So if she doesn't want to come forward and give her information to belong to the ad litem so everybody can do their own investigation, then she's out. Because we don't have time for this. Ms. Kyler Green, did you have something else that you wanted to add on that subject?
No, thank you.
Okay. All right. We're over time. What else do you have questions about, Ms. Fuller? Anything else?
My other question that was also in the CASA report is, there was a common application that was prepared for this child, correct, Ms. Wagner? You didn't prepare it, but it was prepared for the child.
Correct.
And there was a number of statements that were misinformation about the child.
Correct.
And due to those statements, Morgan was not getting the services that she needed at this placement when she was placed because it didn't have accurate information. So how long did it take for Belong to fix that application?
I am currently working on it because I want to make sure that I go through all of the investigations and find all of the information and represent this girl accurately. I don't want, because some of the things that are in that common application, if they are not true, they are causing problems with her learning life skills. And I want to make sure that we are accurately representing her and her needs. So I'm working through her investigations, and I'm about 75% way with the common app.
Okay, so the email you sent yesterday says the Common App was completed on April 2nd. So it hasn't been completed. You're still working on it.
That was one that was done that we just sent over to Ianti that we found out that was so woefully incorrect. And so that's what I've been working on.
I'll pass the witness.
All right. Anything else that you want to report on, Ms. Fuller?
I just need to get information about my client, and I need my client's information to be accurate. I asked a couple months ago for an inventory of her items that they took when she left One Discovery. Haven't received that. She's missing a lot of her items, and she's concerned, you know, she wants some of those, and I don't even know where they're at. And I've never received an inventory. I'm concerned about this, the issue with Ms. Sims. I understand where you're coming from, and I've asked Ms. Sims for her information too, but the reality is if she can't go with Ms. Sims, she wants to go back to One Discovery. We haven't even been given any information about that. And, you know, to determine whether it would be in her best interest to go back to One Discovery. She did really well there. She was there for a number of months, and she really did do well, you know. So I'm just trying to advocate for Morgan. She will advocate for herself. I can tell you that. She will let everybody know what she wants. But with us missing all this information, I just feel like my hands are tied.
Your Honor, if I may briefly respond.
Let me hear from Ms. Roden, and that way you'll hear everything and you can rebut whatever you might hear. Ms. Roden, anything else that you want to add?
Yes, sir. Just so you know, I have been to the placement. I have visited her in person in Houston in the new placement. I think that we're in a lot better place than we were maybe 30 days ago. Ms. Fuller, Ms. Wagner, and Ms. Martinez and I have had some meetings. There were a lot of concerns. I mean, a lot of what Ms. Fuller is sharing, you know, she was out of school for an extended period of time. I have not ever had an RTC employee call me emotionally upset and accusing an agency of emotionally traumatizing a youth before. There was a lot of delays in the move. Like I said, I think we were in a lot better place now. She does have the chargers for her hearing aid. I would like to see the visits with Mr. Wetstein, the grandfather, set on some sort of schedule. He needs to have input on that. He's willing to have input. I spoke with him as recently as last night. But sometimes when these behavioral issues occur with Morgan, that has kind of been one of the things that's been surrounded around. She wants something to happen, you know, like tomorrow. That can't happen tomorrow, and her understanding that and transitioning through that's a little bit tough. So I think that would maybe cut down on some of that. I also have asked for the inventory. I've offered to go inventory it myself. I can't get an inventory for her yet. I do think that maybe we're working towards resolving that though through some of the meetings and our conversations. But some of this stuff really needs to be taken care of. That common application was, as Ms. Wagner said, woefully wrong. I have concerns with the 2279A too, the sexual victimization history that needs to be provided when we place children. I have concerns it was inaccurate. I know they're looking into that. They're aware of that. But there was just a lot missed for a lot of days in this case that's put Morgan really behind. And I will say, you know, as far as the criminal history, I'm going to let the attorneys handle that. We've met with Ms. Valdez. She was supposed to be looking into that. But even the investigation, we've historically been able to have those RCCL reports. In fact, we're usually called and questioned in that investigation. We weren't in this one. I don't know the accusations or allegations in that investigation. And it hasn't been very transparent in working with what that investigation was really around. And if One Discovery, if it's just a contract issue, I'm confused on whether it's like a licensing and contract and they're not willing to contract with that placement, or like if it's unsafe for her to return there. So it's very hard to advocate for her properly without having that information. So that's kind of CASA's take currently, but for the time being, Morgan is she's okay right now. She's in school. She has the things she needs now.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Carla Green.
Your Honor, I briefly just want to address the issue with the investigation at One Discovery. If there's an ongoing investigation and it's in the context of inappropriate contact with children in the placement, I think that the dust is still settling on this issue, and it would be inappropriate in any case for a child with Morgan's background to put her back in a placement where this sort of thing is potentially going on, even if she wasn't a party to it, given her background and given the sensitivities that she has. I think that explains Belong's hesitancy and the post haste that they took in moving her. So I just wanted to address that there was thought behind moving her.
Okay, thank you. All right, I'm going to set a progress hearing on May 21st, 2024 at 9:30. May 21st, 2024 at 9:30. Put that on your calendar. Our next permanency review is not until September the 10th at 10, but I don't want to wait that long. I'll find the permanency goals unrelated to adoption, that her current placement is safe and appropriate, meeting her needs, and it's in her best interest to remain there. It's the least restricted placement available. However, I'm going to order the parties to meet to get this inventory of her stuff figured out. Where is her stuff? What's on the inventory? To continue to make sure her Common App is correct and to make sure all of her educational needs are being met. And then to look at this, if there's an investigation going on, obviously that's an issue, but I want you all just to be communicating about it, because as we convened here today, it just seemed like there were things that maybe could have been communicated better between all or among all the parties. And that, as we often find out, is usually the culprit, is we don't have a clear line of communication. And that is something I don't have a lot of patience for. If people are trying to get information and we're not getting answers, and we could be getting answers, and then we come here and we're spending a lot of time spinning our wheels on things that we could have talked about outside of court, I don't like that. So please communicate about this stuff so that when we come back in May, I'm getting reports and arguments. I'm not getting a bunch of, we don't know what's going on. I don't want to hear that. That doesn't help Morgan. It doesn't help any of you, and it doesn't help this court. I'll find that she's up to date on her medical, dental, and medical checkups. I'll find that Morgan is taking psychotropics or receiving them, and that her reviews are up to date. That she's had the opportunity to express her wants and desires, and that since our last hearing, no other family members have come forward. I want to make sure she continues to visit with her grandfather as long as that's appropriate. So let's make sure that those visitations continue. I understand that placement with grandpa is probably not going to happen, but let's at least continue that contact. Regarding Miss Sims, I think I've already said it, but I'm going to order that Belong is under no obligation to continue talking to Miss Sims until Miss Sims gives Belong the information that they want and signs the releases that they need. As far as I'm concerned, what I'm hearing today, and I haven't heard anything credible to controvert it, is that the line stops with her at this point in time from a legal perspective. So she either needs to get involved and cooperate, or we're moving on. Again, we'll be back for a progress hearing May 21st at 9:30, and then our next permanency review after final order is September 10th at 10. I'm glad that the folks that are on this case are on this case, because if there's anybody that can take care of Morgan, it's the people that I know that are involved in this case. Just need to communicate better. And I'm listening to what Miss Roden is saying. Probably shouldn't have taken as long as it did to get everything that Morgan needed done in that move. So we need to figure out where the breakdown was and figure out how do we not do that again. We'll be back on that progress hearing date, and I'm hoping to find out that we've made some progress with some things.
Your Honor.
Yes.
Just request for clarification. When you were discussing the order for the parties to meet for the inventory, the Common Act, corrections, and that our educational needs are being met, you also spoke about the investigation. Are you requesting are you ordering that be part of the meeting as well? And if so, I'd request that the attorney for Belong be ordered to be present as well to that meeting.
That's what I want to happen, because there's differences of opinion on whether or not this prior placement is a potential option for her to go back to. And so I think that discussion needs to happen so that everybody understands what legal barriers may exist because of the investigation, or what best interest concerns may exist. But we are way over time. I've made all the orders I'm going to make. I think I've covered everything that was talked about today. Again, we're going to be back in a little over a month, and we can address any other concerns there. But That's enough to get us started, I think. All right. Thank you all for your time and your service. If nothing further, all parties are excused. I'll see some of you after. Announcements beginning with the department, please.
Leslie Lee.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Leslie Lee, attorney for the department.
Deborah Fuller, attorney ad litem, attorney and guardian ad litem. Do you want to unmute and announce she is with us today, Your Honor?
Good.
Just say your name, Morgan, and then, okay, thank you.
Jill Roden, Tri-County CASA.
Amber Wagner, adoption specialist with Belongs.
Laura Martinez, adoption supervisor.
Glad you're here with us this morning, Morgan. All right. We're here for a progress hearing, so I don't want to get into everything that we would normally cover in a permanency review. I just want to go over the things that we had been concerned about when we were last here in April. Some of the notes I had, from the reports I read from CASA and the department, it seems like a lot of these things have been addressed. But we need to just kind of touch base and figure out what we still have to address as well. We talked about prior placements and what would be in Morgan's best interest. And we talked about an inventory of her stuff. And we talked about correcting her Common App and making sure she was up to date in school. And then I set that this progress hearing for today. The reports that I read showed that her Common App was updated, that she's improving in school. She had a 504, and that she was given some, it looked like CASA was talking about working with Mr. Wetstein to help her have some contact with him. And then she had her behavioral health consultation, which I did by Dr. Coverstone, which I did read those notes as well and his recommendations. So knowing that I know all of that, Ms. Wagner, what high points do we need to cover during this hearing?
And there has been a change in school. She was unenrolled in school due to her math and some other situations that they unenrolled her just here in the last day or so. I just got that email yesterday because she was behind in math class and has been for months. And then her behaviors have started up a little bit again. So, but other than that, everything's been taken care of, visits and everything.
Okay. So do you think that there's anything else that we need to, or does Belong think there's anything else that we need to address today with an order? Or do you believe that the reasons for the progress hearing have been addressed sufficiently to this point?
I think we've hit everything. I think we got everything covered, all the visits, her education, her inventory, her property. I think we hit everything that we were looking at in that last hearing.
Okay. One thing Belong mentioned in their report was, or not Belong, CASA mentioned in their report was that she's missing a tablet and some AirPods and a wax machine. CASA is going to be able to, from what the report says, replace that tablet by June, but they're asking for Belong to cover the wax machine and the AirPods. What's your opinion on that or your knowledge of that?
I sent that over. I don't know what our what we would be able to do with that. I did ask, but I hadn't received an answer yet about what we would be able to pay for that. But I can find out real quick.
Okay. Well, let me hear from everybody else and we'll keep talking about that. Ms. Fuller?
Well, I don't think we've addressed everything. And I thought, and maybe I'm wrong, I'm looking at my notes that Lucinda Valdez was supposed to be present to address. We had the issues with the One Discovery investigation that we still have not received any information on. And so she was supposed to be present for that. The inventory, it took a long time, and I really feel like her items need to be returned, replaced. She was moved months ago, and we just got this update, last week. And so I think that those need to be replaced. It's the first I'm hearing that she was unenrolled in school. I mean, the reality is that for some reason she was out of school for more than a month because proper documents weren't provided to her placement, and now she's not in school again. Very concerned about that. They're saying she's delayed in math, but when you miss school for over a month and now you're going to unenroll her from school, I'm really concerned about that. Yes, CASA has really taken care of the situation with her grandfather, you know, and been able to work everything with him so she can visit. But we haven't done everything that we needed from the last hearing, and I'm concerned about that. I mean, those were her items, and it shouldn't have taken 4 months to get an inventory and then find out that some of the major items are missing. You know, the ones that probably cost the most. And so that's my concern. I'm glad that she's going to be able to have consistent contact over the summer with her grandfather. That's been worked out thanks to CASA. But now her educational needs, telling us this morning she's been unenrolled in school, is very concerning. You know, no explanation. Was she going to another school? Or, I mean, that's very concerning to me, Your Honor.
Well, I'm going to give Ms. Levy the opportunity to question Ms. Wagner, and then I'll give you the opportunity to cross. Ms. Levy, do you have any questions for Ms. Wagner?
Ms. Wagner, how quickly can we get her re-enrolled in school?
I received the email yesterday at 1:43, and they said that they will have to be re-enrolled in the next school year.
Okay.
The school ends in the next, I believe, probably in the next week to 2 weeks. And she was unenrolled because she was at 6% completion instead of 75%.
Is it possible to get her in a summer program to try to make up some of that lost time?
I can get with the placement and find out.
And I apologize as this is my first time with this case, but do you have any update on the issue Ms. Fuller brought up that Ms. Valdez was going to address? Have you heard anything about that?
We did have the meeting, but unfortunately that is not something I want to speak on. I do not want to misspeak accidentally and say something just because that is not my area of knowledge.
And just so the court is aware, I did reach out to Ms. Valdez. I don't know if she's available to jump on, but I did send her a text inquiring. I'll pass the witness.
Ms. Fuller.
So, Ms. Wagner, the fact that they unenrolled Morgan is now she's going to be held back a year, or what's going to be the result of her now not finishing school?
They just said that she would have to be re-enrolled next school year. Like I said, I received this email at 1:43 yesterday because I asked for an update before court, and that's the update that I received. So, and I forwarded it yesterday afternoon.
But what will be her status? What grade will she be in?
I will have to find out. I do not know.
And you said that you will look into summer classes or not?
Yes, ma'am. I will get with Ayanti to see about making sure that she is enrolled in, summer program. I did get her enrolled with a tutor that was supposed to be starting this week. But since she's been unenrolled, but maybe they can work with her during the summer.
And at the last hearing, the court had indicated you were going to set her up, do a TARE profile. Has Morgan indicated to you whether she wants to be on TARE?
She does not. She has told me she does not want to be on TARE or any kind of recruitment efforts at this time.
Okay. And so can we, do you think that it would be appropriate to make that an order of the court?
If that's what Morgan feels it is, then we should follow her wishes. And if we want to make it an order, then we can.
Pass the witness.
Any other witnesses, Ms. Levy?
No, Your Honor. Ms. Valdez said she would try to jump back on. I don't know how much time the court has to give her for that.
Well, we've got another hearing set at 10, so until
yes.
10. Ms. Fuller, any other witnesses?
I'd like to call Morgan.
Okay, she's been sworn. Morgan, can you unmute for us? Thank you.
Yes.
Okay. Can you please state your full name?
Morgan.
And you're here today to express some concerns that you have to the court, correct, Morgan?
Yes, ma'am.
And what are your concerns?
Sorry. I think that I got behind in math, and because I didn't know most of it, and then when I got up, I was at 6%, and then when I was supposed to be at 70, so then I got up to 30% in 3 days. So I tried to get up to that 70%, but I don't think I guess I didn't have enough time.
Miss Morgan, do you, how many days did it take for you to get enrolled in school to begin with?
I was at least like maybe a month and a half, I think.
Okay. And have they indicated to you whether you're going to be able to go to the next year, whether you're going to be a sophomore or junior, whatever you're supposed to be?
All they told me was that I'm unenrolled and that it's pretty much it was my fault because I didn't finish my class.
And have you asked for a tutor previously?
Yes, and then they said they were gonna get me one, and I did not get one because my grade was a 70 in math, even though my percentage was still at that 6%.
Okay. So do you feel like you've tried to do everything that you could to try to bring your grades up?
In that week notice, because the last week they told me I need to get it up fast. So they told me to get it up to that 70% by Friday, and I worked every day on it for that whole day, and I got up to 30%, so by Friday.
And have you been you've requested to spend time with your grandfather. Are you satisfied with the schedule that's been presented to you for the visitation?
Yes, I would like more if that's possible, because my grandpa really he's really helped me a lot with a lot of stuff. But I'm very happy with it that I even get to see him in those days I do.
And all those visits go really well, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And you get to see your siblings?
Yes, ma'am. And I got last time, when I was with the one Discovery, and I went and I visited him for Christmas, like the beginning of this year in January, I'm pretty sure. I got to meet my nephew for the first time, my sister's baby. I got to meet him for the first time, so he's about to be a year old.
And so you heard the testimony about what items that were not returned to you. Are you asking the court also to have Belong pay for those items and you be given the items?
Yes.
And in regards to contact with other individuals, are you requesting any additional people be put on your call list?
My brother Mitchell Powell, my sister Mallory Powell, who else was it? My other brother Cameron Hilburn.
And is there some reason why your calls are being monitored at this time?
With who?
Like with CASA or?
They just monitor them. I don't know why they do, but they are being monitored.
Okay. And would you like that to, when you're talking to your CASA or to your attorney, would you like those calls not to be monitored?
Yes.
And then the last thing in regards to Tara, you are requesting that you not be put on the Texas Adoption Registry, correct?
Yes, I don't want to be on there.
Okay. Pass the witness.
All right. I think Ms. Valdez is now in the courtroom. So, Ms. Valdez, are you there? There she is. All right. Thank you for joining us this morning. Ms. Fuller wanted to see if you could come in and weigh in on the one Discovery issues. Are you familiar with this, Ms. Valdez?
Yes, I joined as staffing last month. I thought we had kind of resolved that. So I'm assuming there was some issues in regards to records and the laws changed in regards to FBI and DPS background checks on any individual. And so we covered that. I think all of that was resolved because I provided them the information from the government code. The other issue that came up that I'm assuming is maybe what Ms. Fuller was needing is there was a prior RCCI an RCCL investigation that occurred at a placement that the child was at in the beginning of February. So I want to say that if I'm being called in, it's probably because Ms. Peterson, Ms. Fuller had requested those records from that investigation. Part of that is through HHSC, which we don't have access to that. And then the other part is through DFPS when it's RCCI. The issue we were having with this is that it's a separate case. And so to supply those records, we have to make sure that there are no other children involved, and there were other children that are not children from Region 8B or Medina County. So I spoke with the RMG managing attorney, Laura Palmquist, who's with DFPS. And what she recommended is that in those instances that they submit a request just like they would for a redacted copy of the file. And that way they can redact that investigation report and then just provide the information that pertains to Morgan, to this child. And so when I receive that, I can send that on, or if they supply it to Ms. Wagner, that can also be forwarded on to them, and then they'll get that redacted for them so that they can get a copy of that file without disclosing any confidential information on other children that were placed there at that time.
Okay. Ms. Fuller, I don't know if that addresses your concerns or not.
Well, I mean, I was asking for the investigation regarding my client, which I'm entitled to. It doesn't have to be redacted. And that's what I was asking for and have been asking for a while, and specifically to my client.
Let me make sure I understand this, though, because there's a lot going on with this. Ms. Valdez, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but you're saying that what Ms. Fuller is requesting potentially contains information for children outside of 8B, and that's what has to be redacted?
Yes, Your Honor, it was an investigation that involved multiple children.
Okay.
Aside
So
from
it's
just this one child.
all right. So that's what my understanding is too, Ms. Fuller. So what sort of, and I'm sorry if you just said it, but there was a lot I was listening to. What sort of timeline are we looking for on that redaction right now? Do we know?
Typically it's a 30-day, but if it's something that's expedited, I can reach out to the managing attorney with DFPS. I'm sure Ms. Levy can as well, and we can try to get that quicker. It's just the investigation report. It's just that for purposes of confidentiality, it serves better if they're able to look at it and make sure that everything is redacted properly so that we're not disclosing anything that's confidential on those other youth.
Okay.
And Your Honor, I'd ask that you put that in the court order, because we've been going back and forth on this for a really long time, and
I understand.
we would like those records. And so instead of us now saying, one of us has to send in a request, can we just put it in the court order that they're going to redact the investigation, and so we can receive a copy?
Okay. Ms. Levy, any response to any of that?
Your Honor, I have no problem with it being in the court order. Usually we do need either an order or a written request, so I think it would help us to have it in the court order to get it to her. This is obviously the first time I've handled this case, but I'm happy to do whatever we can to get what she needs.
Okay.
Thank you, Ms. Levy.
Do we need Ms. Valdez for anything else, or may she be excused?
Me excuse, Your Honor.
Okay. Thank you, Ms. Valdez, for being here. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right. Ms. Roden, anything else? Or well, Ms. Fuller, why don't you go ahead and make your report now, and then I'll hear from Ms. Roden.
When I went to see Morgan, she was doing extremely well. She was on a very high level, and she was, a leader, and they had nothing but good things to say about her. So I'm just kind of shocked about taking her out of school. She has missed so much school this year, and I'm really bothered by that. She was happy in her placement. She has, friends there, and she enjoys the visits with her grandfather. So she used to ask to go back to One Discovery, and that's why I really needed that information, so I could share that with her on why that was not possible. And so I'm glad that she decided she wanted to be here today so she could kind of hear what's going on. But I really want her stuff returned, whether Belong has to pay for it or not. When you move a child, it's your responsibility to make sure she has her items with her, especially, high cost items. But I'm happy to see her today. She looks great, and looking forward to seeing her when she goes to Bandera.
Good. Ms. Roden?
I mean, I just kind of want to mirror what everybody else said about the education. I am really concerned. What I would like to see happen, in addition to maybe trying to find some kind of credit recovery for the summer, is I'd like a meeting with maybe Morgan included over the summer. I think part of the issue has been the online school. I don't want her back in a school that can drop her if she's not completing a certain rate. I want somewhere where they're required to meet her educational needs so that we don't have this problem again in the future. And so whether that be public school in the fall that we can kind of hold to a little bit more hold them to be accountable, I guess, for meeting Morgan's specific educational needs. It may be something, but I want Morgan to have input on that because I know that she kind of has some hesitancy when she talks to me about public school versus trying to do an online school. So maybe there's something we can do that kind of meets in the middle. Other than that, I usually don't ask, that belong, cover things. We understand things get lost in the shuffle sometimes, but this was a move that was initiated by Belong, and they needed to. I mean, there was some safety concerns, but it was done completely by Belong. I don't believe Morgan was able to go back and help pack her stuff or even look at her stuff. It took months to even get her an inventory of where her stuff is. And so we really feel like they were in charge of her belongings, and that's important to Morgan and for her security, and just feeling like her and her things matter. And so I would like to see that prioritized. And then I know you talked about Dr. Coverstone's assessment that you looked at. I would like them, it suggested DBT and EMDR therapy. I would like us to locate that therapy that was suggested. And I'd like for that to be the behavioral assessment also to be at least presented during her next medication review, just so whoever's prescribing her meds has that information in front of them. Whether they change it or not, that's up to them as the prescribing physician. But I want them to at least have all that information in that assessment when they make those determinations. Other than that, I'm good.
Okay, thank you. Morgan, is there anything else that you want to talk to me about or tell me before I make my ruling?
Yes. I also, like, some of my shoes I am missing as well. I know I'm missing a pair of my Jordans. They're just like straight black Jordans. And then I also have a pair of gold shoes. They're gold and they have like a checkered print, I guess. But it's like
I have them. Morgan, I have them.
Okay.
I was looking at them this morning.
Do you have the black Jordans as well?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
And your green bag.
Okay, thank you.
One less thing, right? That's good news. Okay.
And can I say something?
Yes, you may.
Also I'm missing like this, it's like a Hello Kitty onesie. And I'm pretty sure it was on my last placement. Well, I know it was on my last placement, but I didn't see it when my stuff was brought to Ayanti. When I first got to Ayanti, I did not see any of my stuff, or that in any of my stuff.
Okay. Why don't we take a look for that and see if it can be located, and then I'm going to make some orders and I'll address those sorts of things. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Anything else?
No, sir. Thank you.
You're welcome. For the purposes of the progress hearing, court is going to make the following orders. I think you've all got a pretty good handle on the contact with Mr. Wetstein during the summer. I don't really feel like I need to make orders based on what's going on, other than to say that I'm ordering the parties to continue cooperating as far as the contact with Mr. Wetstein over the summer that CASA has set up. I'm going to order Morgan to not be subject to any more recruitment efforts or to be on tear at this time, and find that that's in her best interest. I'm going to order an expedited investigation report for Morgan based on the one discovery incident, subject to redaction. So that, again, that's expedited, subject to the redaction. I'm going to order the parties to staff Morgan's educational needs within 7 days and focus on trying to get her into a summer program if necessary to make up that math class, and then to look at her educational needs in general, because I am also concerned about putting her in a school that can just drop her because she's fallen behind. I don't like that, so I want to try to address that. Also in that staffing, I want you to look at the recommended therapy and the assessment and follow up, develop a plan to follow up on those recommendations with providers. And then I am going to order a med review with the assessment that was done to be provided at the med review. One of the concerns was a depression medication. These are things that need to be discussed in the staffing, and we need to have a plan moving forward that addresses the concerns that were brought forth in that assessment. Otherwise, that assessment was a waste of time. And then also at that staffing, I'm ordering the parties to discuss the whereabouts of the Hello Kitty onesie. We need to figure out where that is. I'm going to order the conservator Belong to replace the AirPods and the wax machine within 14 days with items of equal or greater value. So whatever AirPods she had, those are the AirPods she needs to have. And if they don't make them anymore, then we find something commensurate now, but nothing less than what she had. Same with the wax machine.
I'm sorry, Your Honor. If I can just ask, this may be me misremembering. I thought Casa was replacing the AirPods and that it was something else.
Casa's replacing the tablet.
Wonderful. Okay. Sorry, I misremembered.
Oh, it's okay. And then I'm setting another progress hearing for July 16th at 11. July 16th, 2024 at 11. Our next permanency hearing is not until September 10th, 2024 at 10. But I don't want to wait that long because there's a lot going on in this case. And we're just going to stay on top of it. I'm setting another status hearing for the same reason I set a status hearing last time. There's several moving parts, and I don't want Morgan to get lost in the shuffle. So I'll see you July 16th, 2024 at 11 a.m. Ms. Levy, do you need to repeat any of those orders?
I have facilitate contact with Mr. Wetstein, stop recruitment and take the child off TARE, staff education needs, and also look at therapy and set up a summer program, and then a med review, and then replace the missing items. Did I miss anything?
The expedited investigation report subject to
Yes.
redaction.
Thank
And Your
you,
Honor, I would also ask that Casa's conversations and my conversations with Morgan not be monitored by the placement.
No, they shouldn't be. She should have absolute confidentiality with both of you. So that's ordered. The placement is not to monitor any conversations between Morgan and her guardian ad litem or her attorney ad litem. And if they continue to do it, I need to know about it. Anything further?
No, Your Honor.
Okay. Thank you all for your time and your service. Morgan, it's good to see you. If there's nothing further, all parties are excused, and I'll see you on July the 16th.
All right. With that, Mr. McKeska, would you please begin the announcements?
Thank you, Judge. Drake McKeska, attorney for the department covering for Miss Emily Kyler Green.
I'm Kim Coffey. I'm the Belong adoption specialist.
Jennifer Harris, attorney and guardian ad litem. I'm ready.
All right, we had our trial back in February, so we're not too far out. Imagine probably not a whole lot has changed, but permanency goal, relative adoption.
Yes.
And placement there with Ms. Martinez is safe and appropriate and
yes,
meeting needs, and then child's best interest to continue.
Yes, Judge.
And is this the least restricted placement?
It is.
Child's bonded to Ms. Martinez?
Yes, Judge.
And no other family members have come forward?
No.
Any barriers to achieving our permanency goal at this time?
I think the only barrier right now is, well, the family is getting licensed with Divinity. However, I know that, I believe this has been going on for years. Mrs. Martinez is trying to work on her citizenship status. All they need is an appointment. I know they've been in touch with their immigration attorney, but I think that's just what we're waiting on at this point, so we can move forward.
Okay. Any other reasonable efforts that the department has or Belong has made in this situation towards achieving the permanency goal?
Judge, I'm not sure exactly what Belong could do. I think right now we're just, just waiting on the whole process with, becoming a citizen. So I'm not sure if what Belong could actually do. I know that Lucinda Valdez is, that's her specialty. I could reach out to her and see if there is anything that we could do on our end to speed it up.
Okay. Mr. McKeska, you have any needs from Ms. Coffey? Excuse me. Any questions? I was typing the word needs.
Just real quick, Judge. Ms. Coffey, has the redacted case file been requested?
Yes, that and the HESIG as well.
Okay. And so you have made those efforts to take those steps to be able to move towards adoption as soon as the immigration issue is resolved.
Yes, I believe I just got the case, so I believe the previous caseworker had submitted it. We're just waiting to receive those.
Okay. Pass the witness, Judge.
Harris?
Is Miss Martinez married?
Yes, ma'am.
And so her husband will be a part of the adoption?
Yes, ma'am.
And is he working on citizenship?
I believe he's already a citizen, if
Okay.
I'm correct. Yeah.
One of them is and one isn't, right?
Correct. Yes.
Okay. And is it Belong's position that they both need to be citizens in order to be able to adopt?
From my understanding, yes.
No further questions, Judge.
All right. I didn't ask, is Andres up to date on medical, dental, all that stuff?
Yes, Judge, he is.
Not receiving any medications?
He is. He's taking propranolol. That's for a supraventricular tachycardia, which is, I think, just a rapid heartbeat. So he takes that medication as well as cetirizine for allergies.
Okay. Anything you want to add, Ms. Harris?
No, Your Honor, everything's going well. They're taking great care of him. He's with family. We're just waiting to make things official.
All right. Finds for the purposes of the permanency review after final order that permanency goal of relative adoption is in Andres' best interest, that his placement with Ms. Martinez is safe, appropriate, and meeting his needs and his best interest to continue. Court finds this is the least restricted placement available. Since our last hearing, no other family members have come forward. Child is bonded to the caregivers and he's up to date on his medical, dental, and vision checkups. He is receiving medications for allergies and a rapid heartbeat. However, those are appropriate. Court finds that the only barrier to achieving the permanency goal at this time is working on the citizenship for one of the caregivers so that they can adopt. And then court finds that the department Belong is making reasonable efforts by working on that issue and the licensing issue so that we can get documentation taken care of. Did you already, I don't think anybody asked you, did you already order a reduction in Heshig?
Yeah, Judge.
Okay. I'll include that in that reasonable efforts. Okay, then we'll be back for our next permanency review, September 10th, 2024 at 10:30. September 10th, 2024 at 10:30. And hopefully we can have an adoption on that date or before. All right. Thank you all for your time and your service. Ms. Martinez, thank you for everything you're doing. And if nothing further, all parties are excused.
No objection. No
Thank you.
objection.
You're welcome. With that, will you please begin the announcements, Mr. McCusker?
Thank you, Judge Drake McCusker, attorney for the department. Mr. Minen.
Blaine Minen, permanency specialist with Belong.
Lindsay Ligon, permanency supervisor with Belong. Anna Swallow, attorney ad litem for the respondent mother. Ms. Rios, can you unmute and state your name, please?
Monica Rios. Rochelle Acevedo for the father of Venancio Ortega. He's not present, Judge.
Maureen Yanis, attorney ad litem for the children.
Amy Harding, Hill Country Casa, guardian ad litem for the children.
Then everybody who's here. All right. Mr. McCusker, how does the department plan to proceed today for trial?
So, Judge, we are asking the court to dismiss the case with regard to the three younger siblings, Michaela, Nathan, and Penelope. They've been back in Ms. Rios's home. There haven't been any concerns. As the court is aware, Jose turned 18 back in January. The court maintained jurisdiction over his case based off the fact that he signed an extended care agreement. However, since that court date, he has been placed in his HCS slot. And that is no longer, since that's no longer a DFPS paid placement, he technically doesn't qualify for extended care any longer. So we are asking the court to extend its jurisdiction under 263.603 of the Texas Family Code to maintain jurisdiction over Jose's case, to allow the guardianship proceedings to be completed. And it is my understanding that the maternal uncle and his counsel, Mr. Carlson, did in fact file the guardianship proceedings, and that Jose was served with those documents earlier this week, and so that process is going.
Okay. Are there any objections to the department's, well, let me ask this question first. Are there any counterpleadings on file that would require the court to take that up?
No, Judge, I don't think I filed any sort of counter pleadings on behalf of my client.
Ms. Acevedo or Ms. Yanis, did either one of you request any relief?
No, Judge.
No, Judge.
Okay. Then I think the department is well within their purview, considering this, the facts and circumstances of this case, as well as the procedure, to dismiss their suit and take nothing by it. And then, as Mr. McKeska has stated, as far as Jose goes, under 263.603, court will maintain jurisdiction. Well, there's jurisdiction for the guardianship proceedings to continue. So what else would you need, if anything, from this court for Jose, Mr. McKeska?
Judge, at this time, we don't need any additional orders. Technically, since Jose's not in a paid placement, it would be qualified as a trial independence period. And I know that doesn't necessarily, sounds accurate considering the guardianship proceedings. But since he's no longer in a paid placement, he would qualify for extended care. And so the court has the ability to extend that TIP period for the full 12 months, so the end of February 2025. And then again, we're asking the court to maintain its jurisdiction over 263.603 to allow for those guardianship proceedings to be finalized.
Yeah. Having heard no objections and being familiar with the process, the court will grant the requested relief. The court will find that it's in the best interest of the children for the court to dismiss this suit as to Penelope, Nathan, and Michaela, and then to maintain jurisdiction under 263.603 as to Jose. Anything that you want to add as the attorney ad litem, Ms. Yanis?
Just that good for you, Monica. This is wonderful news for the younger three. There was a hiccup, but she, handled the fumble very well and came out. The three are doing very well with her. I can't complain about this outcome, Judge.
Wonderful. Casa?
I agree. Ms. Rios has done an excellent job throughout this case of managing her obstacles and coming out on the other side of them. We are very supportive of dismissing the three younger children. I did confirm with Mr. Carlson's office this morning that Jose was in fact served with the guardianship case papers on Friday, April 5th, and his office received confirmation of service today. So he will be moving that forward on the next step in the process.
Very good. Okay. Well, congratulations, Ms. Rios. Good job. You're welcome. Is there anything anybody else wants to say to Ms. Rios? No? Okay. Well, good luck to you, ma'am. And if you ever get in any trouble, you ever need any help, you know how to reach out for it. Okay. Everybody gets tired of hearing me say this, but I mean it the nicest way possible. I don't want to have to see you in court again. Good luck to you. All right. Then that'll be the order of the court. And if there's nothing further, all parties are excused and there's no further hearings.
Thank you, Judge.
Thank you.
Thank you, Judge.